Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Today, we are going to learn about how to build immunity and secure your applications and DevOps environments using NGINX applications. My name is Atriya Ramadas. I am heading technology for Rapyder Cloud Solutions. I have close to 14 years of experience in the field of DevOps, cloud and software architecting. To run this webinar along with me, I have our esteemed speaker from F5 Networks, along with us, Mr. Rajesh Bhavanatham. Rajesh is a technical solutions architect for the NGINX business unit of F5. With 20 years of hands-on experience in various stages of application development lifecycle, usage of IAM products, API gateways, and various cloud platforms, Rajesh has built a unique application design experience on various mission-critical domains for enterprises across industries like banking, insurance, government, and transportation. As part of this webinar, what we are going to cover is we are going to cover at a high level what are the NGINX open source initiatives, what all can be done as part of NGINX open source using NGINX instance manager. Rajesh, if we, and also work on how can we use NGINX to use as an Ingress controller in Kubernetes. How can we use WAF capabilities of NGINX as part of NGINX App Protect? And then if time permits, we can go through a demo. Then we will also cover what Rapyder has done along with NGINX, what are the use cases that we have worked on, and then move into Q&A session. Rajesh, welcome to the webinar. Nice to have you today.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you very much. It was really a kind introduction. Yes, this is Rajesh here. And now let's get into the webinar. So most of you guys would have heard about NGINX. NGINX is part of F5 Networks. NGINX, it was acquired probably 2 years ago, I believe. So it's highly impossible you guys would have not come across NGINX from a web server standpoint of view. The reason for that is almost 97% of the deployments, the web applications actually uses NGINX open source to host their web applications. It's not actually surprising to see this because when it was released around 2001, since that point onwards, we always kept our NGINX as an open source software so that we can actually contribute back to the community, which actually drives one of the main reasons to be used as one of the one of the best web server in the world. That's one of the reasons. The other reason why customers actually love to use our open source software is mostly because it is pretty stable. Even though it is open source, it's a really stable and also performant. So we have never ever compromised on its performance or in its stability when it comes to open source. So we pretty much treated us in a way how we would treat our commercial editions. The way how we differentiate commercial edition is completely different. We actually bring more feature into it, but from a performance point of view, we come a little closer as much as we can. So start with NGINX. So the way, if I have to explain NGINX, I would say it is more of a Lego block. You can construct however you want it to. So in this particular case, you take NGINX binary and you can construct with a Lego block. In our world, we call that as a directives, where you can go and build it as a web server, where you can actually realize that as a load balancer. Most of the load balancer across the globe, which is used by different cloud providers, actually uses NGINX open source as their base platform. And it can be realized as an API gateway. And when it comes to Kubernetes side of the world, it is one of the most used Ingress controller across the globe. So it doesn't matter whether it's a load balancer in a VM world or in an on-prem world, or from a web server point of view, or even we go to a modern architecture using Kubernetes, we pretty much lead the market towards it. NGINX is also can be deployed as a service mesh, as like a sidecar proxy. I will actually touch base on that in the coming slide, but I won't go too deep unless you guys wanted to know more about it. So start with NGINX Instance Manager. We came up with this product probably like 6 months ago. there was a huge demand in the market. And this is the problem we faced when we went to the customers. As I mentioned, it's NGINX open source being such a performant application. It's being such a stable application. A lot of customers still uses NGINX open source in their production environment. A lot of customers actually run thousands of them. I personally know certain customers actually thousands of NGINX across their environment for load balancer and web server capacity. Can you hear me? Am I clear?
Yes, you're clear, Rajesh. Yeah.
Yes. So customers actually tend to run thousands of instances in some occasions. Some of the banks which I know, which I have closely worked with, runs thousands of instances, so open source instance. But the biggest challenge what they do have is they don't know really how many of them. They have no inventory, and they don't know what type of versions, whether they're running the old version or a new version. Because it has been stable for such a long time, they didn't even touch it for a while, and it has been a biggest problem for them. So to address that particular problem, what we did was we came up with a lightweight product called NGINX Instance Manager. What it does is we brought the similar way of actually having the simplicity within the NGINX Instance Manager. It tends to actually go and find all the open source NGINX instances that is deployed within your environment. So for sake, if you put NGINX Instance Manager in your environment, if you deploy it, you can pretty much scan all the instances, NGINX open source instances. Doesn't matter whether it's open source or even the NGINX Plus instance, you can pretty much scan across it and you can create an inventory of it. So this particular product has been really handy for a lot of large customers. So now we are actually trying to give this go to the next level of a market where we can actually find and help our customers for a medium and a small markets as well. Because regardless of number of things, the inventory is inventory. You need to have an inventory of services, what is running in your machine. And most importantly, you have to have whether is there any CV is running there. Any latest vulnerabilities happening in that particular instance of NGINX. And also, since you are running NGINX open source, it is also highly impossible to go and deploy or change any configuration. You might be relying on some kind of a CI/CD pipeline to go and do one by one. You don't have a centralized control over it. So these problems actually drove towards coming up with this particular instance. Using Instance Manager, you can centrally configure all those NGINX open source instances just by use our lightweight UI. You make a call and you can go and configure all the NGINX instances. You first actually go and find the instance, and then you can quite easily analyze it. Let's go a little bit deeper into what NGINX Instance Manager brings to the table. From a high-level capability perspective, we provide instance discovery, as I just mentioned. You may run thousands, or you may run 100, you may run 10, doesn't really matter. But if you want to actually have the centralized configuration management, the first thing is to first discover it and register back to the NGINX Instance Manager. On top of that, also what it does is it actually scans it for a specific NGINX CV, for the old NGINX CV, NGINX versions. Is there any vulnerability there? If there any vulnerability, then it actually scans it and find out if there's something been part of that particular open source instance. We talked about the configuration management. You can pretty much number of instances sitting there. You can use this instance manager to go and configure from one place. So you don't have to go juggle between one open source instance to another. It is pretty easy to do that from the instance manager point of view. The other thing always customer asked for is we wanted metrics, but getting out from each one of those open source instance metrics is always going to be a challenging bit. So with Instance Manager, we give you an agent which can help you to go and export metrics towards the Instance Manager or to wherever you really want it to. The other biggest challenge customer always tell us is certificate management. I'm pretty sure this would resonate a lot with you guys. Rotating certificates is the biggest challenge in any given organization for the DevOps teams or the teams who's actually looking after the services. So with this centralized approach, you can quite easily go and rotate the certificates. I'll show you in the next screens like how easy it is to go and find whether the certificate is going to expire or if it is expired, and how it's quite easily go and replace those certificates. So this is a classic example of a discovery and a scanning. As you can see in this particular slide, we use Nmap underneath, where we actually use the scanning technology that comes up with the Nmap. We go and identify all the HTTP servers, in this case, which will be NGINX, and you can see those discovered instances as being displayed here with IP address, what port we are actually has been opened up, and what is there any CV available, and what is the status of that one. So as I mentioned, this can be achieved two ways. One, you don't have to have an agent with the NGINX. You can pretty much scan it and find it. But if you want added information, for example, if you want to rotate the certificate, if you want to add a configuration to a specific NGINX instance or group of NGINX instances, all you have to do is add an agent, a lightweight agent to that open source instance, and it is quite easily discoverable within the instance manager, where you can go to the next level of it. Now comes to the configuration management. This is most asked and the most used feature within our instance manager. As I mentioned, you may have hundreds of open source NGINX running in your environment, but how would you actually go and edit or do any kind of changes within your NGINX config? As you all know, NGINX directives it is the one which builds the web server or a load balancer or a reverse proxy, whatever you are already using it. This particular configuration management feature that comes with the instance manager, you can pretty much edit the file. It has the smartness within the instance manager, where it goes and retrieve the file from the specific open source instance and display it in an embedded Visual Studio Code, where you can go and edit it, and you can pretty much when you save it, it automatically get reflected in all the NGINX open source instance. This is the beauty of this whole product, which I so love it, because now I don't have to go and edit each one of the NGINX open source instance. I control it through one centralized thing. Whatever I just explained, it's like a more of a UI thing. It can be also achieved using APIs. So for example, if your company is already enabled with a CI/CD pipeline, then whatever I just explained, you can go and update, you can have those config and make a call to the instance manager, and instance manager is smart enough to go and configure to all the open source NGINX instances. This is the next one, which I personally excited about as well. This is also, I know, a lot of ask from our enterprise customers. They asked for like the certificate management. We don't know when the certificate is going to be expired on certain instances, and we need some kind of an inventory for all those instances. Since you are already bringing the inventory of instances, why can't you give us the expiring certificates or about to expire certificates? So with the latest version, we have added this particular one, where we actually show them like what is the CN with the name of it, and then when it's going to expire, all those information for a specific NGINX open source instance will be displayed within the instance manager. So you don't have to go and verify or run a different product to verify whether the certificate is valid or not. I personally know there are famous websites gone down because of this particular mismanagement, when the certificate got expired and one of the ops guy forgot to renew the certificate, and the whole internet went down. I'm sure you would have read that probably a few months ago. We not only stop at the time of identifying the certificate. Once you identify the certificate, we also give you an ability where you can go and change the certificate as well. So if you want to rotate the certificate, you use Instance Manager in a centralized way, where you can dispose the certificate to all the open source instance distributed across your network. That's another exciting feature which actually came up with Instance Manager, the latest version of Instance Manager. As I mentioned before, the example what we are showing here is more from a UI perspective. The same thing can be achieved through API. If your organization is enabled with CI/CD, where you are using a Jenkins or some kind of other CI/CD pipeline and using a GitHub or a Bitbucket, we can configure all of this through APIs using the Instance Manager. So Instance Manager consider that as a UI friendly. If you want to really do ClickOps, where you want to use your mouse and keyboards and go on to configure it, it's too friendly. At the same time, it is also enabled with API. This is another feature. So with open source, you have very limited information you can export it against. With the combination of instance manager and the agent attached to the open source, now you can pretty much externalize the metrics and alerts. So in case if you are running the Prometheus and Grafana as part of it, all the NGINX open source instances, which is pointed towards the instance manager, and the instance manager can pretty much export those metrics data to your favorite Prometheus or Grafana, where you can see a fancy dashboard. As a matter of fact, we also provide the dashboard, which we actually manage it and maintain it. It's open source, and you could pretty much, if you have the instance manager license, you could go and take it, and it's just run it from day one. We talked about this, so it is not just API UI we support it. So we are declarative in nature, where we heavily rely on our APIs to do whatever you can achieve through UI can be achieved exactly with our NGINX instance manager APIs as well. I'll pause it for a second if that is for you guys to digest, or if there's any question. Cool. I'll continue with this one. So whatever we discussed as of now is more from a VM world or an on-prem, where you are running NGINX open source as your load balancer or a web server, where quite easily you can configure that, or you can manage it from a centralized environment. Now let's talk about another open source offer come from NGINX. It's called Kubernetes Ingress controller. So if you guys are working on the Kubernetes side of the world, I'm pretty sure the first, the API which you are trying to expose, if you try to Google it, the first Ingress actually comes as part of the Google search is the NGINX Ingress controller. That is the default Ingress controller that comes with the Kubernetes. So I just wanted to start with why is it so important to have such an Ingress controller in place? So stepping back, the microservice architecture, which actually started to be a fancy thing for last 5 to 7 years, it actually exploded in a quite large way. As you can see that it's a pretty complicated way. The services before 5 years, we only talk about the services or the request which is coming from north-south bound, which means we only take the request, and then whatever it get passed, we don't care. We actually kind of trusted everything inside the network. But with this Kubernetes, there is no layered security. It's a flat network, and it is very important to apply right level of security to make sure that who is talking to what. So now the problem, because of this Kubernetes explosion into the market, now the east-west communication. When I say east-west communication, a service talking to another service. A human talking to a service is a more called as a north-south, and a service talking to a service is called east-west. So Kubernetes is much famous for this particular architecture, where it's supported out of the box, and this microservices pretty much adapted Kubernetes as one of the de facto standard where they can go and run that microservice. As you can see, there are tons of services here: messenger, passenger billing, payment, driver. All of these are like microservices, but it is all being applied, accessed through an API gateway, which only handles the north-south bound. The moment once it enters Kubernetes, we also need to work out like how to secure that API. One thing I just wanted to highlight about is we talked about open source a lot. Our NGINX open source as a load balancer, NGINX open source as a web server, or even as an Ingress controller. I just wanted to give you a 2 cents on what would be the cost of running open source. It's good. It's also a problem, but this also comes with the cost. It's more, I would call this like a passive cost. You don't really know what you are actually paying it for. A classic example is this. So if you are running the open source and the way how we apply, the security patches will be much more faster compared to any other open source, using it. For example, there is another product called Kong, which uses NGINX as its baseline. So the time what it actually takes to patch the security vulnerability is around 4 to 5 months, give or take. So if any other application claims, most of the applications like an API gateway or Ingress controller, they run on NGINX as a baseline. So that's the only way they can be performant, but it's the choice is up to you guys to make sure that you want to run in a raw NGINX or on a layer on top of NGINX. So this is the cost you would be paying if you're not using NGINX as a base layer here. So again, coming back to the Kubernetes side of the question, so a couple of things is quite important. When you try to bring Kubernetes, two things which comes to the mind is authentication and authorization, and then comes the WAF, web application firewall. I think, if I'm not wrong, there is only one product in the globe right now can actually let you to do all these three, where you can apply authentication, authorization, where you can apply WAF policies, where you can protect your services which is running in the Kubernetes. It is one of its kind. Not any other Kubernetes Ingress controller can do this by running the WAF firewall. The only reason why it is able to do is we have borrowed the security knowledge from FI. FI is, all you know that it's actually well known for its security presence. NGINX is well known for its load balancing capacity. So since we merged together, we have borrowed a lot of security aspect from the FI side of the world. One of the thing is the web application firewall. So we made sure that it is a lightweight, as like NGINX, where we can go and secure the workloads as part of the Kubernetes. As you can see on the right-hand side, the external facing, where you can actually use NGINX Plus or FI firewall and the load balancer as the external one. When it comes to within the Kubernetes, you can apply NGINX Ingress controller, where you can do some kind of authentication and authorization. And then for an east-west communication, I talked about sidecar or service proxy. It could actually help you to go and make the internal call between pod to a pod. So pretty much from the edge all the way to the service, we actually make sure that the right level of defense is being applied throughout the infrastructure. This is one of the example which we quite often see in our customer place. So multi-ingress controller for a decentralized team. So I personally know in a couple of places where I have worked and I have implemented similar kind of architecture, where they tend to run two separate namespaces, where they tend to run edge namespace and a namespace specific to a business unit. So this way they actually segregate the responsibility of applying WAF kind of a policy at the edge, and any application specific policies like OpenID Connect or WAF to our basic auth, or some kind of RBAC that needs to be applied to secure your services can be applied at the specific namespace which hosts the application. So this particular architecture we are seeing quite often referred by a lot of customers, and they are adapting it quite faster. So I thought I'll just bring a use case where how flexible NGINX is in a Kubernetes world as well. So you can deploy it in a way how it actually suits your need. As I mentioned, the NGINX Ingress controller that comes with the Kubernetes is actually managed by the Kubernetes community. So we have our own offering. NGINX itself directly give us an Ingress controller called Kubernetes Ingress controller. So we do not rely on annotations to do a lot of routings. As you can see, the way how we actually distribute the routing is in a very Kubernetes friendly way. So we have defined policies, routes, and upstream where you can quite easily apply the policies like rate limiting, authorization, mutual TLS, even app protect, WAF, as I mentioned, all of those things can be applied as policies within Kubernetes Ingress controller. I just wanted to give you a bit of a nudge on what is the difference between the virtual server and the Ingress kind. As you can see that the left-hand side, the virtual server is our CRD approach, like a custom resource definition approach on our NGINX. On the right-hand side, it is also NGINX, But that particular NGINX open source is actually managed by the Kubernetes community. The left-hand side, what you're seeing as a virtual server kind is actually managed by NGINX, but it is still an open source. So I just wanted to highlight how easy it is to write any kind of a routing compared to the way how we manage it within NGINX versus a community managed. So as you can see on the right-hand side, if your kind is Ingress, you have to write quite a lot of annotations to do a rewrites. On the left-hand side, you can see that how easy it is, and it is represented in a way that Kubernetes, in a Kubernetes way, where you can rewrite to your upstream services. This again goes back to the policies. So as I mentioned, you can refer any type of a policy. In this particular case, this example shows you that I'm applying a rate limiting policy for a specific routing or specific applications here. So this way you can refer the policies. I can apply JOT policies, I can apply WAF policies, I can apply allow list, deny list policies. All this can be quite easily applied as part of Kubernetes Ingress controller. So just to give a summarize, so normally in a production grade Kubernetes using NGINX, it can pretty much help you to secure all the way from the edge closer to the service, as we discussed before. So you can run the Ingress controller at the edge of the Kubernetes, which is built with the security like a WAF and other policies. And then once the requests enter the Kubernetes, we could use NGINX service mesh. Again, the NGINX service mesh is free to use. You can pretty much download it from our F5 website. It's most performing and simplest service mesh you could ever see that. So our Ingress controller is also free, and our service mesh is also free. So pretty much you can take it and run it. But if you are planning to run that in production, I would strongly recommend you guys to go with a commercial edition of it, because there are a lot of features which is not available as part of the open source. So this is what I wanted to close this particular argument with. So there are three types of NGINX Ingress controller currently available in the market. As you can see that the first one is a Kubernetes managed. You can see that after the feature, the second column is a Kubernetes managed one, and the next two is managed by NGINX. One is open source edition, the other one is the commercial edition of it. We support a lot, but for advanced use cases, for example, let's say we have a JOT validation or a session persistence, then you have to go with the commercial edition. If for a simple routing, you can use our NGINX Ingress controller, which is also available as open source along with our NGINX service mesh. I don't want to dwell too much into the service mesh use case, but I just wanted to highlight what is our key differentiator. As I showed with the production grade one, if you are using NGINX Plus as an Ingress controller, it can very well work with our Ingress controller, where you can apply a end-to-end mutual TLS all the way from the edge to the services. So you can protect your services with not being snooped by anything else. And it actually, that has all the latest load balance algorithm and has a circuit breaker. And you can apply rate limiting not only for a north-south. You can also apply for east-west communication if you are using the service mesh. Visualizing traffic is most asked feature when it comes to Ingress controller and service mesh. So we offer an open sourced, a Grafana dashboard where you can quite easily export it to a Prometheus and visualize it. Again, I will pause it for a second. Is there any questions?
Yes, there are a couple of questions.
Maybe we should handle it at the last, or do you want me to do it now?
No, we can handle it at the last as well. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Thank you. So NGINX App Protect. So this is another tool. This is not open source. We talked about a lot of open source tool now, but this is our flagship product. As I mentioned, this is one of the product which is actually it's a moving product where no one else actually offered this kind of a lightweight WAF with the load balancers. We have borrowed the special use from the F5, and we have applied this in the software load balancer now. So with WAF policies, as you know, before we dwell into the WAF, what is WAF? One thing I just wanted to highlight here is the vulnerabilities, what is happening with the applications, because the new applications which is developed with the Node.js, Java, and any other open source applications is been in a high rise. Since 2010, as you can see that it actually started around 4,000. Now, around 2 years ago, we're talking about 14,000 CVs being just pumped. It's like multiple folds of CVs happening as of now we are talking. This is becoming more and more increasing problem, because we are most of us are trying to do business. Either we expose our business, we expose our data or capability to our customers, or as a customer I am actually trying to access a business. So both parties get affected because of this kind of a CVs, and it becomes the business responsibility to protect their assets as well as to protect their customers. From an application layer point of view, I won't go into L3, L4. I'll talk from a L7 point of view. The application layer threat classes actually comes into like I tend to call it's like an onion. The first layer of attack happens with the software vulnerabilities, which is like known as top 10 things, zero-day attacks and things that actually bounded closer to the applications. The next one is the targeted attacks. That the attackers know exactly what they're doing. If there is a CV, if there is a bypass to access your application, they tend to learn it and they try to attack it using certain tools. The closest one is the the abuse, where you actually so sometimes the business logic is not good enough. A classic example is DOS. Denial of inventory. The business logic attack is also popular. So this is like this actually pave way to fraud, abuse, and things closer to the applications. So if I have to peel this like an onion, these are like a three high level threat which happens around the applications. How is it possible to actually mitigate all these completely three different type of threats? And most importantly, now as I mentioned, we have been running this application in a distributed way. We are not just running in a Kubernetes, or we are not just running one in an on-prem, or just not running in a cloud. We've been running across all these environments. We are trying to figure out, making sure that the platform is completely agnostic. NGINX actually comes handy in this particular aspect. Regardless of wherever you are running, NGINX is a platform agnostic, and most importantly, you can run WAF at the edge along with the NGINX. So NGINX App Protect is a module where it actually helps. Oh, someone is saying that I can't hear anything. Really? Can you guys hear me? Is it good?
We can hear you well.
Oh, cool then. The NGINX App Protect being an additional module to the NGINX Plus, you can add, purchase NGINX Plus, because this works only with our commercial edition. We will this particular App Protect will not work with the open source, and this actually makes sure that all those three type of attacks is being mitigated at the edge. Sorry, someone is trying to say something. I hope we have time, Natraya. I won't take too much time.
Sure.
You see my command line? Enough to see it?
I think you have to bring up the font. Yeah, looks good.
Okay. This is available in the GitHub. I will actually, when Atraya was talking, I will definitely send you the link of this GitHub. Whatever I'm just showing you, you can pretty much take this and run this in your environment. The way how I have done is, this is more of a Kubernetes one. I'm trying to use Terraform and NGINX Plus as an Ingress controller, where I'm deploying automatically a Kubernetes environment and host certain services for testing. So whatever I'm just showing to you guys today, you should be able to take this and you should be able to go and run quite easily and see it through by yourself. I didn't have enough time to actually deploy this during our thing. So what I decided to do is I already deployed this using Terraform, as I mentioned. Feel free to go and deploy it and test it by yourself. It will work. And one beauty of this particular GitHub project, what I have done is I have made sure that this actually works locally within Mac if you're running Docker desktop, and you can run this in GKE, and you can also run this in AKS. So all you have to do is you just go and remove the disabled part of it and run GKE or AKS with this one. And I have all the instructions ready. All you have to do is just do a Terraform init and Terraform run. It just get the environment provisioned. So which I have already done. I just because lack of time, we just wanted to go a little faster. Remember, I talked about this virtual server concept within NGINX, where you can go and define it. The other bit which I forgot to mention is it let you to go and define your services in a Kubernetes way, but it also let you to go and extend it, your NGINX thing. If you're really good with NGINX, it will let you to go and write NGINX directive as well. So you can actually, completely make use of the NGINX Ingress controller in a way how you want it to. So if you look at, this, the Ingress controller way of actually doing that in the Kubernetes, it's very straightforward. What I was trying to do is a weather service, and then I have an upstream where I wanted to actually route it to, and then I have a subroute called weather. So anything called weather, it will get routed to a backstream endpoint, backend service. And it's the same way I have for Echo service. It's the same case. So I have an Echo service where I actually do a hello world. Then it actually should talk to my backend service called Echo upstream, and it get routed back and it gets a response back. As I mentioned, I have already deployed this. I won't go too much into that, but at least I will show you. Like when you run this Terraform at your end, it will spit which endpoint you are actually doing. So I have already automated all of this. All you have to do is take this and try to hit this one. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to hit a Hello World API, which is hosted as part of GKE. And I'm setting the host is this, and I have secured this with a JOT, with the Okta as an IDP. So here in this particular case, I'm using Okta as an IDP. So what it does is the Ingress controller actually verifies the request and sees that you don't have enough, policy, the right bearer token. So I'm not going to let you in. It will throw me an error. The only way I can actually make this to work is by making a call to Okta and say, get me the token. So when this actually gives, this particular one is, like a two-legged auth. Let's see what it actually has. So this is the token which is issued by the Okta. So this I'm running right now. It's in a place where it actually expects it to go and the Okta actually mints the token. You can pretty much create your own Okta account and you can do it. And Okta tend to give you for some period of time it let you to run for free. And in this particular case, you can see that I have asked for my request here is I have asked for a scope of admin. And since I have asked for a scope of admin, it actually clearly gives me the permission to do that. Yes, you have a token, and that is actually comes with an admin scope. So let me take this token and go back to the service, which is actually, we tested it right now. So I'll copy paste this one. This time when I'm trying to do this one, it should work. So what it does is, it's like an echo service. What it does, it actually takes a call and respond back with the response. Whatever header we supplied back, it actually sends it back with certain names, like what's the host name, etc., as part of this, the request. It's pretty straightforward, and just to give you the RBAC part of it. I'll remove the scope out of it. Now I'll get, so now I have got a new token here. So this time what I did was I didn't issue a token called, the scope called this admin. Let's see how my chart actually looks like. So this time I don't have a permission called admin. So let me actually take this. That will take time. Let me actually copy paste this. Token. So it will throw an error because the way how we have done in the Ingress control, I just wanted to give you a highlight of how we are doing this, the RBAC as well. So in this particular case, we are expecting the token to be actually the endpoint, the token to be supplied, a valid token. On top of that, we are also doing a fine level authorization saying that are you admin? If your client doesn't have an admin thing for the hello world and the weather, it will throw an error back saying that even though your token is valid, but I'm not going to let you to go forward because you don't have a valid authorization to go forward. So that's the idea behind doing that. So I don't think we have enough time. I will pause it here. What I wanted to also show you guys is to show you how you can apply rate limiting. Here I didn't apply, purposefully I didn't apply. So if I go on hit now, I can keep hitting it forever, but that is not a good idea, right? So you need to make sure that it's secured, not being bombarded quite badly. So you can apply this rate limiting policy. I'll just show you how it looked like. The rate limiting policy here, as what I have done is I have applied 10 requests per minute, and I have applied on the the remote address. So from my address, I can only hit 10 requests per minute. If I go beyond 10 requests, then I actually get 4 to 9. But due to the time, I'll let you guys to go and test it out. It works because I did the coding. I'll send you the GitHub location, have a look, and let me know how it goes. I'll pass on to Atreya now. Sorry, Matt, I actually took a bit more time than I planned for.
Thank you, Rajesh. I think it was very insightful. I think we got a lot of insights on how to use NGINX open source instance manager, and also the web app part of it, app protect part of it, and also Ingress. So it was indeed very, very interesting. I hope it's the same for everybody. So without wasting much time, let me quickly go into the last but one part of the session. So we, Rapyder, I would like to give a brief introduction on who we are. We are a 5-year-old company. We are advanced consulting partners with AWS. We primarily work on, we help customers to kind of start working with them in their cloud journey, right from migrations to DevOps implementations, to automations, containerization, app modernization, and also to continue to help them to kind of maintain their infrastructure on the cloud. So we have experience implementing and containerizing applications across the spectrum using, not to mention Java, Ruby, PHP, those applications as well. I think especially when it comes to PHP, NGINX, PHP, Ruby, and Golang and things like that, NGINX is the most preferred web server. So that's where we have helped many of our customers to kind of implement NGINX also. And because most of the time it will be part of the DevOps team's practice. So as part of Rapyder's DevOps practice, we have a framework that we work on. We have developed a factory model in which the DevOps phases, as you can see, we clearly kind of try to get the whenever any DevOps implementation needs to be done, we try to kind of align ourselves to the phased approach that you are able to see here. I think in the previous demo, you would have seen the Rajesh talk about Terraform and things like that. That's where it becomes important on understanding what the current customers are currently doing. That's where the discovery phase comes into the play. What level of expertise or implementation has already been done with respect to DevOps. And then we try to understand from the customer on what they want to achieve as an end goal. So that's where if you want to, many customers are moving to containers and things like that. So we try to understand what tools they are using, what web servers they are using, and try to kind of understand and guide them on what exactly will work for them, what web servers to choose for what technologies, what are the right orchestration options which are available, like Kubernetes, ECS. There are a lot of native container orchestration services also available in each cloud provider, whether it is AWS, Azure, or GCP. Once the thing is finalized on what orchestration we are going to use, then we get into continuous integration and continuous deployment, where the NGINX kind of web server, which is intelligent, makes our job quite simple, which will also help in DevSecOps, which means whatever we are doing as part of DevOps implementation, security also plays a major role. So with respect to NGINX Plus and the web application firewall concepts there, it eliminates the need to have another web application firewall or a network firewall on top of it, depending on the customer requirement, right? So we have implemented NGINX Plus in many of our customers, which I'll walk you through a couple of use cases in the upcoming slides. When it comes to the way applications are deployed and the continuous delivery process, the thing is divided, right? If you are on any particular cloud provider, like AWS, for example, that I've taken here, or you can choose to build it completely open source. So this is a typical slide on how we make it work on using open source technologies like Jenkins, Ansible, and things like that, Sonatype Nexus, etc., where you can easily integrate your DevOps CI/CD pipeline into the cloud provider of your choice. Here it is Amazon Web Services. You can replace it with Azure or GCP. And when it comes to AWS specific tools, there also we can use cloud specific application tools as well. So our teams have a lot of experience working on cloud native DevOps technologies and also open source kind of technologies as well. Here you can see the native services like code pipeline, code deploy, code build. Those are the things that we can use, and it can deploy into NGINX as we go ahead as the target. So when it comes to containers specifically, it depends. It's very important to do some sort of scanning on the OWASP side or on the when you're building the container itself. So we do scan the containers before we push it to a repository before it goes into the production. Right. So a small case study where we have used NGINX Plus as part of customer case study. So this particular customer was using NGINX Plus, NGINX open source to begin with, but they had some caching requirements, and also they had a lot of instances on-prem to begin with. When we kind of migrated them to cloud, we ensured that we helped them to move to NGINX Plus, which gave them a lot of flexibility on the cloud. When it comes to autoscaling group, as Rajesh explained, Instance Manager made their life very simple to kind of rotate their certificates and things like that. And also they took advantage of the caching layer of NGINX to help them better serve their customers at this point of time. Right? That is one. Second one that I want to talk about is another customer where it was a Kubernetes based application. So this is where NGINX helped, Ingress controller helped. So as part of some custom Ingress rules as well, we made use of config maps and things like that. So that helped us to define some customizable parameters, which is not readily available as part of Ingress rules, but it can be done as part of config maps. So this is one of the use cases that we have implemented. So I think it has been a kind of very positive feedback that we have got from the customers on what NGINX Plus helps them to do over NGINX open source. So we can always, you can reach out to Rapyder to kind of, or F5 directly to get these implemented for any of your use cases. We are happy to do so. So Rajesh, you want to kind of run you through. So for all people who have attended this session today, there is a special offer being kind of given by F5 as part of this NGINX promo that we are running. So Rajesh will walk you through what it is.
Thanks, Atreya. So as part of this one, we have two offering. One is NGINX Plus with App Protect. As I mentioned, the App Protect will only work with NGINX Plus. So if you guys are looking for a cutting edge but lightweight WAF product for your platform agnostic environment, then this is the right place where you can start with. Usual price is $11,000, I believe. I think it's almost how much? 3,000 less than normal price. The same with the instance manager. So as part of this promo, we have we offering you can manage up to 10 open source instance or even NGINX Plus instance if you're running in your place. So with NIM or NGINX Instance Manager, you can manage both open source and NGINX Plus. I just wanted to highlight that. So with this particular deal, you have a special price of 6,990 per year. I think this particular one is you have to process before 29th, 29th of September. So you'll have a year worth of a subscription though. So if you guys need more information, please reach out to Vishal Gupta. So his information is over there. So where you can reach him out.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Okay.
So I think we have some questions out there. I have tried to answer a couple of them, Rajesh. So maybe we can take a couple more, which are there.
I'm reading the first question. Hello, does NGINX open source web server can be integrated into a virtual simulation environment? IDE such as VMware. Yeah, it can. Look, I mean, NGINX can run anywhere, but does the IDE support that? I know there are certain IDEs support, some of them IntelliJ and stuff, but I don't know, all the IDEs support the NGINX thing. But I will be highly surprised, being such a used web server across the globe. I really doubt that no one, everyone must be supporting this out of the box. But I have not personally tried this with all the IDEs. I know some of them. IntelliJ does it. I haven't even tried that in VS Code. That is currently that's what I use it, but I haven't tried that yet. The next one is hello. Does NGINX open source web server understand SQL, NoSQL request? Does it support GraphQL IDE request? Good question. So I think what you mean to ask for is NGINX open source like a load balancer. So if you're actually using that as a load balancer, you can load balance between SQL server or anything. So you can't send SQL request to the web server. That is not possible because it only takes a web request. Either it could be a SOAP or it could be a REST JSON. That is how it actually takes, but doesn't take SQL or anything. But a lot of customers are using NGINX as a load balancer on top of any of the SQL server or a MySQL or Postgres, some kind of things as a load balancer sitting on top of that. Does it support GraphQL? No, we don't have GraphQL support with open source, but with Plus, we are planning to bring that as soon as possible. Cool. Is there any other questions which we could help you guys with? Sorry, it was a bit of a technical challenge when a bit over than what we expected. I accept our apologies, please. It's good. If not many questions coming through, I think we can wrap it up, Atreya.
Sure.
Sure.
Thank you, Rajesh. Thanks a lot for everyone to join this webinar with us. So feel free to reach out to either Rapyder or F5 on the mentioned email IDs, and looking forward to working with you all.
Yeah, I totally forgot to actually mention that I didn't have the final slide, but trust me, I'm famous. You can reach me anytime. Take care, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, bye-bye.